This week is Parshas VaYakhel-Pekuday. It's a double parsha, and it ends the phase of the construction of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the temple in the desert. It's by no means the completion of the idea. The idea really isn't completed until Parshas Ba'alosacha in Sefer Bamidbar, after which the Kohanim are inaugurated into service. But in the conclusion of Pekuday, it ends with the children of Israel have completely erected the Mishkan. It's the instructions to Hashem from Hashem to Moshe are completed in Parshas Kitisa, and VaYakhel literally means he assembled them. They congregated together. Moshe relays the instructions to the children of Israel. And he starts the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu basically ended the parsha, which is the commandment to keep Shabbos. It says that in part of the passage, this is in Kitisa, but it's more or less repeated in the beginning of VaYakhel, is that God rested from his work after the 7 days of creation, Vayinafash, and he took refreshment, or he inspirited it. The key thing is it has the word nefesh in it, which means soul. And this is an important section from the standpoint of the laws of what is considered forbidden work on Shabbos. The word is that you have to stop malacha. And it's the concept of malacha is a little bit different from what it is today. Strictly speaking, it's crafts. The Chumash uses the word chachma, that the people when making the temple, they did it with chachma, with wisdom. In other words, it took some skill, some intelligence. And the other thing is Rashi's commentary on the word vayinafash, which says that they rested from their Torah, tircha, often bother, but more loosely understood as effort. The idea of compensation does not really enter into it so much. The basic idea is that it's physical labor for the purposes of constructing a building and all of the things that go into it. The labors that are done in the temple are called malacha, starting with things like making the trunk with which will contain the tablets of the 10 Commandments, then making a candelabra out of beaten gold. Then you have making a wash basin. It goes on with all sorts of clothing, including jewelry. When Moshe gives the instructions to the Bnei Yisrael, he includes making bread, which is part of the components of the shulchan, which is in the Ohel Moed. Uh, all of these things, in one form or another, often directly, are called malacha. Uh, what you've got is a case of a house and all of its components, as well as all of the, shall we say, the crafts that go into constructing that house. In this case, it's the house of God. What the Mishnah will do is, so to speak, it says, just like man was created in the image of God, our house is created in the image of the temple. Therefore, the various components of our houses are labeled as malacha. The basic idea, though, is that that as important a labor as the temple is, nevertheless, one must take a break one day a week for Shabbos. When you're talking about the Mishnah, it labels 39 specific malachas, and they are broken down, shall we say, into 4 categories. Sidra de pas, making bread. Then the next one is making clothing. The third one is leather production, starting with slaughtering the animal and ultimately cutting the leather into pieces and all the steps in between. The third one is either construction or construction in a catch-all. It also includes writing. Certainly writing a book or articles would be forbidden. It also includes hotzaot, shall we say, pickups and deliveries, transporting of articles on Shabbos. When you're talking about transporting, it's the main method of sales and purchases and exchanges is through transportation. You go to the store, you say, you pick up a particular article, and you take it home with you, or take it to your shop. Another one is making fires. The idea of fire seems to be connected to the idea that it's a basic part of many crafts. Can't do it without it. If you're talking about gold and silver, to smelt it, you have to melt it. You need a nice hot fire. Bread has to be baked. If you're talking about making clothing, especially from wool, you have to launder the wool, which means hot water. You need a fire to heat up the water. So what you're talking about is everything that's related to food, clothing, and shelter, as well as literary pursuits, writing a Sefer Torah or writing an article. The issue, though, starts becoming complicated with what they call a machlokas about malach she'enu tzarich gufo, a labor that you don't need it for the labor, so to speak, in and of itself. An example would be if somebody, say, has eaten a fruit and he throws the pits on the ground. Okay? If you're talking about farming where people actually seed the ground, seeding would certainly be forbidden, actually enumerated as so. when you're talking about someone throwing a pit on the ground, it's a case where they just want to get rid of the pit. They don't want to grow a tree. And this is not the way that you would plant a tree in any case. The fact that it's not done in the ordinary way and you're not looking for the result is the source of considerable discussion. Going from situations where you might be only doing the malacha, shall we say, very slightly, to other times when you're doing it quite substantially. And you have a running machlokes between Rabbi Shimon, who tends to be makel and says that no, you have to know what you're doing and do it in a professional way for it to be really considered a violation of Shabbos. And Rabbi Yehuda, who says no, even if you did it in a way that's somewhat distant from the way that it's normally done, but nevertheless you did it, one really has violated Shabbos, even though, and this is the critical issue, it's for the needs of Shabbos. Generally speaking, though, when you're talking about for the needs of Shabbos, you look for a heter, things that are really not for the needs of Shabbos and are for weekday needs. We tend to look for a chumrah, which is going to the deeper aspect of Shabbos, where it says in the Gemara and Shabbos, also in Beitzah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, I have a matanat tova, a good gift for the children of Israel, and Shabbos is its name. It says, the idea is that Shabbos in and of itself has a unique character and is a living character, and it is not precisely consistent with human logic, that there is a spirit of Shabbos, and part of the way that we capture it is through abstaining from the physical. The question is, what is the positive thing that we're doing? The idea then is goes into vayinafash, literally that God gave a soul. There's various words for soul in Hebrew. The idea of a nefesh is that it's the life force for the body. The idea is that there is an external force which keeps us alive. As long as it's in the body, we are living. Once it departs, we pass away. It's the lowest of the souls, the soul that governs our emotions or our intellect or makes us unique, are higher aspects of the soul. Nevertheless, the nefesh is still a soul. As a result of it, there's the idea of taste or drink, which are physical pleasures, are considered an aspect of the nefesh. The body would stay alive even if food was not pleasant. The fact that it is pleasant is because the nefesh deems it to be pleasant. So to the extent that things taste good, gives the nefesh pleasure. but it's a spiritual entity. So what you're talking about on Shabbos is being spiritual. And the idea also of the soul is that it's considered a part of God. A man, so to speak, is a soul clothed in a body. And the soul takes pleasure through things that are intellectual or beautiful. In the case of Shabbos, it would be, shall we say, singing or declaring praises to God. This would be the aspect of religious services, especially ones that have chazanut, where the liturgy is beautiful, both in the message, but also in the pleasing voice, the proper pronunciation, as well as the beautiful melodies that are beautifully sung. Another aspect of that would be singing Zmirot at the Shabbos table. A higher expression, but it's again more distance from the nefesh, would be learning things. And it's not a case where it's a learning to prepare for something, even if one is simply preparing for an exam in Limudei Kodesh. It's learning things that we should know the ways of God. And it should be an act of love or respect. The idea that these are things that we enjoy learning or things that we feel obligated to know. And that's the motivation, not that we're going to get that we have to take a test in which we're going to get a grade. It's that we're learning it for the sake of the idea that it's pleasing to God and pleasing to our own souls. More consistent with the nefesh would be food and drink, having nice wine, having nice meals, in which the body takes pleasure, but the pleasure is directed to the sanctity of the day. Other things would be, say, playing chess on Shabbos. You just simply do it because you enjoy it. The object is that the day should be considered an oneg, a pleasure. And it is through this that we take pleasure from God. The basic message in our Parsha is that the comparison of Shabbos to the temple, where the idea is that no matter how high and important a physical task indeed is, nevertheless, we are obligated to spend one day a week as a nation where we tend to the needs of our souls, the needs of the spiritual, specifically being witnesses that there is a God in heaven who created the world in 7 days, and he spends 6 days of them doing physical labor, and on the 7th day he rested from his work and, so to speak, gave the world a soul.